She's out. Mayor Lori Lightfoot is out. And this is how the Chicago Sun-Times talked about it this way. 4 years ago, she was a darling among national Democrats, the first openly gay Black woman to serve as mayor of Chicago and only the second woman to do so in the city's history. Her popularity soared during the pandemic and so on. But you know what else soared? Crime. And this woman didn't know how to fight it, didn't understand the value of good policing and of supporting the cops. To the contrary, she threw them under the bus at every turn. And as I tweeted last night, this is a city that is essentially bathed in blood now. And her closing message, Mark, was to remind people she's a Black woman. She's a Black woman. People don't normally support Black women. And if you don't support somebody like me, who's a Black woman, stay home. Turns out that didn't work for her. Now there's two other people who have to have a runoff. One guy ran to the right of her. It's a former public school chief named Paul Vallis. And he ran on public safety. Then there's another guy who's a Black progressive who got the backing of the Chicago Teachers Union, Johnson. He does not use the defund the police rhetoric. He's argued for police resources to be redirected to the city's social service agencies, but he's not as rabid as Lori Lightfoot is and has been, and she's out. So what's your perspective on it?
Well, when you said she's the first openly gay Black woman to be mayor of Chicago, the qualification for being mayor of Chicago is that you should be able to be mayor of Chicago. And she failed that test. And so if you happen to live on the receiving end of her policies, it's not really any consolation that she's an openly gay Black woman. You know, when this whole identity politics thing started, we sort of assumed it wouldn't go to anything that mattered. So that if some professor at some college you've never heard of is the first openly gay Black woman, or if some NPR host is the first openly gay Black woman, who cares? But when it's things like being mayor of Chicago, or like being your hernia surgeon, as I was saying a minute ago, or like being the pilot of the Delta flight that's flying you from JFK to LAX, then if you can't do it, being the first openly gay Black woman isn't really any consolation. And that's why, I mean, I don't even know why we're still talking about this, because we've had all the first this and the first that. And the result in Chicago is the wreckage you see all around, the ruination of a great city. At a certain point, people have got to move beyond. If you're excited about the first openly gay Black woman, get a new album, watch her new movie. But when it's something that's going to wreck your life, like the first mayor of Chicago, you need someone who can do the boring job of municipal chief executive, which isn't anything to do with identity politics.
I lived in Chicago for 5 years after law school, and you could eat off the sidewalks. It was so clean and well-run back then under Mayor Daley. I mean, it was a well-oiled machine, and now it's disgusting. She's helped make it that way. She is to Chicago what de Blasio is to New York. Two people who took a once great city and ruined it. Because while she wasn't as loud on the defund the police front as we've seen in other cities, some other mayors, Baltimore, et cetera, she was defunding them. She was quietly defunding them and not replacing retiring officers, some 400 of them. And you need cops if you want to fight crime. And the crime in her city has been out of control. Here's just some of the numbers for people not paying attention recently. Violent crime there up 40% since she promised during her inaugural address this is via the New York Post, to stop the epidemic of gun violence. Okay, up 40% since then. Under her, Lightfoot, Chicago recorded 695 murders at the end of 2022. 695 and 804 the year prior, a level not seen there in a quarter century. In 2022 alone, the city saw more than 20,000 cases of theft. In the first 3 weeks of 2023, crime rates in the city have skyrocketed by 61%. Sexual assaults, robberies, I could go down the list, car thefts, murders, all of it, Mark. And she wants to run around talking about her identity and lecturing people that if they can't get behind it, then they should stay home because probably they're bigoted and sexist.
Well, I don't know Chicago as well as you do, but I lived there for, I think it was 4 or 5 months, basically, at the Intercontinental Hotel when my friend Conrad Black was on trial in that city. And Conrad and I liked to eat down the other end of the Magnificent Mile at what was Barack Obama's favorite restaurant at that time. And we would then, at 2 in the morning when they kicked us out, we would stroll up that Magnificent Mile without a care in the world. It was a perfectly safe city. As you said, you could eat off the sidewalk. And I just started noticing that my little shrunken world of Chicago, all the violence had suddenly percolated through to. Like, I think it was the Nordstrom that's across the street from the Intercontinental got broken into and trashed. And even that restaurant down the other end had some problem going on. And at that point, you can't do it. It's like you're not containing all the violence, the crime, the shootings to particular neighborhoods that people know to avoid. When it's on the Magnificent Mile, basically it's everywhere. And she did that. Daley wasn't the most likable guy, but as you said, he's a machine. You said he had a well-oiled machine. He was a machine politician. And the machine delivered. And that's actually what's happened in a lot of these Democrat municipalities, is that the machine can't deliver anymore. So life is hell for all kinds of people who thought the corrupt, well-oiled machine would manage to take care of it for them.
Mm-hmm. Right. People start, seeing the murder rate increase. They start seeing things. There's a reason they call that part of Michigan Avenue Magnificent Mile. It was spectacular, leading into this beautiful row of apartment buildings called the Gold Coast. I mean, absolutely pristine, and the place you'd love to just walk around and see the twinkly lights and think, maybe someday I could make it here. It had that kind of effect on you. And now, I mean, I was there about 1.5 years ago, and you do have to walk around, even Mag Mile, very differently. You got to watch out. You got to hold your bag tight. This used to be only areas of Chicago, never mind this place. Thanks to her and her response. And we've seen this in city after city. This is why Chesa Boudin got recalled as the DA of San Francisco. This is why the LA DA almost got recalled. This is why in all these blue cities, in blue states, you're seeing blue voters start to look at their leaders and say, you're not doing a good job. You might need to be recalled or replaced, because you get messages like this. Lori Lightfoot came out and blamed the victims in 2021 of the smash and grabs, where they'd go into the department stores. She blamed the victims, saying too many retailers had failed to hire private security. It's not my fault you're not protected. It's your fault. You should make the expenditure. And then there was this recently, Mark, where she was upset about the street vendors, the people out in like the kiosks. She was like, why are you taking cash? You should only do a credit card business. Here's that soundbite just to remind the audience, SOT 10.
Heard a lot of rhetoric here, a lot of sound bites, but not a lot of concrete solutions.
And your solution is?
We have been in Little Village working with those street vendors to help them make sure that their money is secure, not use money, if at all possible, using other forms of transactions to take care of themselves.
No, this is crazy talk, because this is the normal aspect of metropolitan life. That you stop at a street vendor, you get a kebab or whatever, and you hand over a crumpled bill. And she's saying that part of normal life is not possible in this city. And the thing about this is, it's true as you mentioned, it's true in a lot of other Democrat cities. I first visited San Francisco when I was 18, and I thought this was a dream city. I thought it, I bought into all that Tony Bennett rubbish about leaving your heart in San Francisco. The last time I went there, it was hell. It was a filthy, ruined garbage dump. And I wouldn't, and where the hotel doorman tells you to be careful you don't step on needles in the street around the fancy hotel. And I just thought, I have no desire to come to this city again. And the thing about this is the Democrats believing the rubbish here, all the pieties about, defund the police and all the rest, it affects everything. Burlington, Vermont, which is nobody's idea of a great city, although there was a book written about it back in the late 90s by a prominent writer, who said it was the model of the future. Well, now it's not even safe to, because of the homeless, because of the drugs, because of the crime, it's not even safe to walk around little old Burlington, Vermont at night. There's no town too small that going along with all this rubbish doesn't eventually kill. And once you kill a city, bringing it back is, extremely difficult.
Look, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. This is not a loan, and you don't have to pay it back. The program is complicated, but nobody knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do all the work, and then they share a percentage of the cash they get for you. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, even those who took PPP loans and even those who had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Let covidtaxrelief.org do the tough thing for you and get you up to $26,000 per employee. It would be tough for you to do. It's actually not that tough for covidtaxrelief.org. They know exactly what they're doing. And if you qualify, they're going to get this for you. covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.